The liberation of Luhansk region has officially started, and Ukraine is about to take full control over the main resupply road which leads to Lysychansk, which is the final step before the city can be fully liberated. In addition to that, Ukraine doubles down on its counteroffensive in the south, splits the Kherson region in three, and thousands of Russians are at risk of being encircled. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's go straight to the point and talk about the counteroffensive of Ukraine in the east. And our first picture comes to us from liberated Kherson. Going a little bit to the east, we have a video from its liberated neighbor Makiyivka. And then going more to the south, we have a video from Terny, which has been also retaken by Ukrainian army. And finally, here is a picture from liberated Liman, which shows us the consequences of a city which has been occupied by Russia. And right now, just take a look at the progress of Ukrainian army in the east in the last 48 hours. And as you can see, every single day Ukraine is getting closer and closer to this road between Svatove and Kreminna. And this road is one of the main roads that Russia uses to resupply its forces in Lysychansk and Severodonetsk. And as you can imagine, as soon as Ukrainians take control over this road, those Russians in Lysychansk and Severodonetsk will be extremely vulnerable. If you remember from my previous videos, retaking Lysychansk and Severodonetsk, which are major cities in the east, is a three-step process. The first step was to retake key cities in the surrounding areas, which are Liman, Yempil and Bilohirivka. And as you can already see, Ukraine is more than successful. The second step was to cross Askili river, gain a foothold and reinforce its positions. Well, Ukraine finalized this step as well. And the final third step is to cut resupply lines for Russians from cities such as Svatove. And as of today, this step is to be completed very soon, which means that we can expect the liberation of Severodonetsk and Lysychansk in the nearest future. But hold on a second, do you see something else interesting? Well, let me help you with this one. Right now, I'm drawing approximate borders of Luhansk region. And as you can see, Ukraine already started entering these territories. Which basically means, and it is confirmed by the head of the region, Sergei Gadai, that the liberation of Luhansk region has officially started. He also urged the residents living on these territories to evacuate as soon as possible, because Ukraine is coming home. Alright, and before I talk about an incredible counteroffensive of Ukraine in the south, allow me to please quickly show you just 6 footages. And while I'm going there, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel if you like this style of daily updating. Alright, so the first picture comes to us from Belgorod, and once again, these are these unknown pillars of light. Many people had different opinions what this can be, and one of the versions is that Russia was testing its laser weapon called Peresvet. And just let me know in the comments if you agree with this option or not. Our next video comes to us from Bila Tserkva, and as you can see right here, there was approximately 6 kamikaze drones that Russians used to destroy Ukrainian barracks. And luckily, some of these drones were intercepted. Our next stop brings us to Dnipro, and once again, we can see Ukrainian air defense system in action. And finally, in this picture from Zaporozhye, we can see the consequences of Russians shelling a bridge. And by the way, here is a video of Russians surrendering themselves along with their armored personnel carrier. The video goes on for more than 5 minutes, and there are some very interesting moments. And if you want to see it for yourself, along with other footage from today's episode, please consider checking my Patreon. The proceeds will be donated to Ukraine, and you can find all the useful links down below. Alright, and now let's talk about the second major part of the video, the counteroffensive of Ukraine in Kherson region. And first of all, here is just a video from this territory, which puts us literally in the middle of the combat actions. And then we have this video from Mala Alexandrovka, which has been recently liberated. Next we go to Novoskresiansk, and we can see that Ukraine was able to retake this city back as well. And then here is a picture from its neighboring Petropavlivka, which has also been liberated. And finally, even though it is not yet confirmed, but several reports claim that Ukrainians were able to liberate Snehurivka. And as you can see, the control over this city gives access to the road which leads all the way down to Kherson. And right here on this map we can see the progress that Ukrainian army was able to make in the last 48 hours. One of the first things to mention is that these two groups, which were previously attacking separately, are now reunited, which basically allows them to double down their counteroffensive in this area. In addition to that, Ukraine continues to hint us about the necessity to liberate Berislav, and as for now it is assumed that they will be approaching from two sides. First one will be along the Dnipro river and second one will be from the west, which potentially puts thousands of Russian soldiers who still remain in this area to be at risk of being encircled. In addition to that, if Ukraine is successful at advancing past Snehurivka, this theoretically divides Kherson region in three parts. And I know we already talked about it in my previous episode, but just as a reminder, these are the other directions of Ukrainian attacks. And these regions can be numbered as 1, 2 and 3, and it is obviously much easier to liberate them one by one rather than the entire Kherson region at once. And before I tell you about a very funny method how some Russian men avoid mobilization, allow me to quickly just present you some bullet points of other important events that happened today. First of all, we have the statement by Dmitry Peskov, who is saying that Russia only temporarily abandoned these recently annexed territories. What he means is that Russia did a tactical retreat and it will be very easy to return these territories in the future. But I mean, why would you give up them in the first place if it is so easy? Second, we have this statement by the military representative of Ukraine, Viktor Kivlyuk, who thinks that this war will last until fall of next year. He also added that Ukraine needs to perform a total of at least 5 to 6 major counterattacks, and the first one is already completed, and this was the liberation of Kharkov region. News number 3 is that today Putin officially accepted Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporozhye and Kherson regions as a part of Russia, and he appointed Pasechnik, Pushilin, Balitsky and Saldo as a temporary representatives of these regions. And I mean, it makes sense, right? Temporary representatives on temporarily occupied territories. But no worries, it's all just temporarily. And finally, as promised, here is a funny way how some Russian men avoided mobilization. So we have this very small village called Sheltozero, and whenever military representatives entered this village and started knocking on doors, they were not able to find any single man. And apparently every single man conveniently went to pick up some cranberries in the forest, all of them at the same time. Okay, if you want to access all the maps that I was drawing today, feel free to join my Discord. And if you want to support my work and unlock some benefits, please consider becoming my channel member. You can see all the other useful links to my right. Thank you so much for your attention, товарищи, and see you tomorrow.